What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Red Tooth Gamescast. As always, my name is Neil Rivera, and I am joined today by the Ravage Savage himself, Wesley Rivera. What is going on, Wes?
I'm excited to be here, and I'm ready to talk some games.
Yep, you are enthusiastic as always, and I love the energy that you are bringing. For those of you that don't already know, you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/redtoothgames, on Twitter at redtoothgames, and on YouTube as well. You can also find us on the web at redtoothgames.com. But enough of the self-promotion, Wesley. I have asked you here today to join me on a journey, and it's a journey aboard the hype train. For those of you that didn't know, there's a small indie game coming out towards the end of the month. If you ask analysts and projectors, they think it's going to do pretty well, Wes. That game, if you didn't know, is called Red Dead Redemption 2. I don't know. Have you heard of it? Have you heard of Red Dead Redemption 2?
Yeah.
So Rockstar's latest game is coming out in just 3 weeks, less than that by the time that this goes live. So Rockstar has been slowly building the hype as the weeks have gone by. We've received a few gameplay trailers, extensive looks at the game. Preview embargoes have gone up, so the folks at IGN, GameSpot, and other media outlets have covered the game extensively in the weeks leading up to its release. So we have a lot to go through here. I've essentially just ripped the talking points straight from a Reset Era thread, compiling basically what everyone else was saying in their previews. So shout out to Reset Era as always. But Wes, before we jump in to the detailed, more main talking points, what's your hype level at for Red Dead Redemption 2 overall?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I am at a beautiful double-digit 10 now.
Double D10.
Double D10. Oof. I'm that first Red Dead Redemption was just incredible. Even what was it, maybe 3 or 4 years after it came out, like I'd still be playing it on the 360.
Yeah.
It was just such an exciting game, and just the thought of jumping back into it is it's giving me chills.
Yeah, Undead Nightmare, still one of the best DLCs of all time. Like
all time.
Legit.
Absolutely.
Like by far. Yeah, I'm with you. And it's kind of crazy because it's hard to believe that this is Rockstar's first real game on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Like, Grand Theft Auto 5 came out like right when, they ported it over right when PS4 and Xbox One came out, but that was a port of the 360 and PS3 versions of that game. So I
bought it on PS3.
Yeah.
And then the PS4 came out. Then I got the PS4.
Yeah.
And then I bought it again.
Yeah.
And then just like, I was waiting for the online to come out. I'm like, all right, let me play other things. Oh, hey, the online's up. Let me buy it again.
Yeah.
And then,
I definitely double dipped. And yeah, it's just like I said, it's hard to believe that like this is the first game where we're actually seeing Rockstar kind of flex their muscle, because obviously Grand Theft Auto 5 is still a PS3 and Xbox 360 game, even though it looks exponentially different or better on the new generation hardware.
It seems like this Rockstar game is definitely going to be the peak of the current gen console. Like what the console can do, they're gonna push it to what it'll be able to do, because after this it's gonna be like next console.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into like the details of the world a little bit later as we go through these talking points. Because this world looks like it's going to be rife with details and just filled with all the little minute things that make this look like a living, breathing world. So Wes, the first thing I want to talk about is customization in Red Dead Redemption 2, and part of that comes obviously about customizing your character Arthur Morgan, but another part of it appears to be customizing your play experience while you're playing Red Dead Redemption 2. So I'm going to just go over a couple of these bullet points, and we'll talk about them as we get through them. The first thing is that Red Dead Redemption 2 is entirely playable in first-person mode. That's something that was confirmed during the preview event. That's something that was patched into Grand Theft Auto 5. So it appears as though at launch you'll be able to play in first-person mode. Obviously, you'll still have a third-person traditional open-world mode for those of you that prefer that.
Yeah.
The HUD itself is customizable, so you can disable elements of the minimap, you can disable the compass, and obviously a new report just came out just yesterday or days ago that it appears as though NPCs will give you directions and kind of give you different landmarks and things like that for quests if you disable the minimap, which totally changes the game.
Customizing the HUD, customizing the HUD. It seems like you can go from just playing Red Dead Redemption to living Red Dead Redemption. Yeah, do you want to play the game, or do you want to put yourself inside it, inside this world? No, if you go completely HUD, no compass, no mini map, it's like you're living that era, and it's so exciting.
Right. No, and it hasn't been uncommon this generation for games to give you the option to disable elements of the HUD. Like a notable example for me was Horizon Zero Dawn. Wow, I almost said Firewall because I've been so addicted to Firewall. Horizon Zero Dawn, because you could disable the map, you could disable the compass, and really give you that immersion, but it didn't really add much to it other than make the game pop out more. Whereas this totally changes the experience. It makes it feel more like a Breath of the Wild kind of experience, where there wasn't many map markers in that game. It was all about exploring and discovering on your own. Whereas this one, as we'll get into it later on in the show, is focused on interacting with the world and the characters that inhabit it. So let's see, continuing on with customization, obviously more so with character customization within the game. Each character is going to have different sets of clothes to coincide with weather conditions. So this means NPCs that are, and this goes towards NPCs as well. So instead of watching NPCs walk around in the same looking outfits, rain, snow, sun, or whatever, it'll actually adapt and change based on what's going on in the world. Arthur's beard grows over time. But you can shave it. So it's very similar to The Witcher. It'll be interesting to see how dynamic that is. Whereas The Witcher
I read into the beard, like the facial hair dynamic, or how it works is, if you're starting off clean shaven, you can't immediately go to, I want the full beard look. You have to let it grow. And then you can choose to cut, style it however you want. You can't have like a goatee and decide like, I want to go big bushy.
Full beard, yeah.
You have to let it grow out first, just like you do in real life, which is just incredible.
Yeah, and it's one of those little small things where it blurs the line between real life and game, which as we get further into, you'll see that this game is blurring the lines between what is a video game and what is a simulation, and that's something we'll kind of touch on a little bit later. But I like that idea. I like the ability that, or not the ability, but the idea that you have to grow your beard out. You have to you can't just go to the barber shop, and because I remember in San Andreas when you were running around and like, I guess CJ has an afro now, cool,
got a big afro and
Your audio totally cut out there. What did you say?
I was saying just walking out with a big afro and a long soul patch.
Got it. All right, so moving on here. So back to clothing customizations, you can layer different articles of clothing. So it means you can buy shirts, jackets, things like that, and customize how that all works together. You can also roll up your sleeves at will, it seems like, so that's pretty cool. More minute details, of course. Things that are going into more simulation territory here that I thought were interesting. You get hungry over time, so your hunger is something that you're gonna have to satiate with hunting and stopping in towns and bars and taverns, things like that. That being said, you can get fat if you eat too much. Which will affect your stamina. If you're fat, you can't run farther, you can't run faster, which that'll be interesting to see. One thing I'm really interested in seeing when Red Dead Redemption 2 comes out is how much of this stuff feels like it's realistic, and at what point do we see okay, here are the parameters of the game, where I've heard things like this before where, especially I keep going back to San Andreas. San Andreas was very similar, where you could overeat and get fat and this, that, the other, but it was very much a gamey version of that, where it was you could just grind to get maximum speed or get maximum fatness like super easily. So it'll be interesting to see how real they make it.
I want to see, like, you have to eat to sustain yourself, but like, is that like a 3 meals a day? Or you just eat 1 meal a day and you're good? Like, does that affect you? Like what? Because you think like Wild West, you wouldn't even eat 3 meals a day back then. So
well, let's go. I kind of was hinting at it before, right? So I mean, like, let's go ahead and jump into it. Like, at what point does this game become a simulation, like a survival simulator versus, kind of like a Rust or a Scum, which I know you've been playing a lot of lately.
Yes.
And when does it become one of those versus being an open world game like a GTA?
So with Scum, I'm glad that you kind of mentioned that. I sort of wanted to just bring it up, but that game, like, you go into caloric details, like certain foods have certain amount of calories, certain types of vitamins. Right. I don't want Red Dead to be this realistic, but there is this, like, if I'm eating something that I feel like would not sustain me in real life, I don't want it to sustain me in Red Dead. If I'm like maybe killing like a squirrel and I eat that and that's all I eat for the day, I don't feel like I've earned that's like a well-eaten meal.
Yeah. Do you think Red Dead's kind of erring on that side of like it's being too real, or do you think that there's enough gamification in there to keep it feeling like a fun game?
Well, most people are going to be getting their from like, they'll hunt, they'll track their prey. It'll have the game mechanics, because I know you can go to saloons and taverns and you can like buy meals and eat in the game.
Right.
I don't feel like everyone's just going to do that. So I feel like there will be some good gameplay mechanics as far as like sustaining yourself.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because like, open world games are weird to me, especially like survival games like Scum and Daisy and Rust. I can't stick with them long enough because maintaining those basic mundane things like hunger and thirst really get old and boring after a while to me. So I would hate for Red Dead to be like, the thing about open world games I think that I like the most, and especially Rockstar open world games, is you can do anything you want at any given time. Where it is, you can continue with the main story. There's all these different activities you can do. In Red Dead, obviously, you can hunt, you can fish, you can do all these different things. You can interact with your camp. I would just hate for me to be like, man, I'm really getting into the story. I want to keep going, but then all of a sudden, like, oh no, you got to stop. You got to go hunt. You got to go eat. Or I got to go into town. So I just hope that it's implemented in a way that doesn't detract from the ability to the freedom of the game.
You're afraid that too much freedom would essentially be its own prison.
Right. Too much freedom would then again restrict what I can and can't do. So, like I said, I enjoy the focus on realism. I just hope that it doesn't detract from the freedom of the open world, which, knowing Rockstar, I think that they'll handle it perfectly. It'll just be interesting to see how much they rely on that sort of stuff, being that it's a more of an open west thing instead of an urban environment like Grand Theft Auto.
And they've talked a little bit about this is Rockstar using its full potential in making a game. Like, it's, basically infinite resource from, the support from GTA Online and everything. Had all this time to just fine tune this game. And so I think we are going to see the best Rockstar has to offer.
Yep. And I mean, considering the world that we're in terms of games, where just because a game comes out doesn't mean that it's out and it's over. They will continue to tweak things. People will complain about certain things. They'll get patched out. Things will get patched in. So just because it launches that way may not mean that it's like that for the long term.
Yeah.
So something we've been hinting at, and it's our next talking point, is the attention to detail in the world of Red Dead Redemption 2. That's the next thing I want to talk about, and here's a few talking points here. So a couple of things is, as you skin an animal, you can see where the exit wounds are. So going back to hunting there, when you shoot an animal, when you skin it, you'll see the process of it skinning. It's not just a little corny animation. You'll actually see him ripping the skin off of the animal. You'll see where the bullet holes are.
Delicious.
Yeah, just like the really visceral details there. Keeping with hunting, you can sell your carcasses that you get, and you take it to the butchers for meat, and if you leave it for too long, it'll rot. So once again, going back to the whole gamification part of it, It'll be interesting to see if it's like just kind of a generic timer or if it kind of seems like it happens naturally.
Well, I'm hoping, you would see, like, if you're out in the desert, you've got a rotting carcass. I feel like it should rot a lot faster than if you're up in the snowy mountains where it's really cold.
Right. And
I would like to
that's
see some sort of difference there.
and that's the thing. And it's, on one hand, it would seem irresponsible to expect that from Rockstar. Like, oh, like, it is what it is. Like, if you have the meat that degrades over time, like, that in and of itself is pretty cool. It's a pretty novel thing. But considering how much other attention to detail there is in the game, is it too much to expect that? Like, who knows? Like, I don't know.
They sort of put their own target on their back, essentially.
Right. They are aiming for the stars, and yes, I mean, that's one of the things where let me. So your first, the first question I asked you was, what's your hype level? My second follow-up question to that is, do you feel like Red Dead Redemption 2 is overhyped?
I'm scared it might actually not be hyped enough. Because with what they're talking about, I saw a little clip where you see Arthur shoot a guy in the eye socket. Like he goes for a headshot. You see that there's a hole in the guy's eye, and there's an exit wound with a perfect trajectory because it crosses through on the other side.
Yeah.
And just that alone, it blew me away. I was like, usually you just see the clothes get like red circles on them, or like, you'll see it, but no, it's like an actual bullet hole that the guy aimed right there. He shot, and there's a perfect trajectory, almost CSI level.
Right.
I'm scared that I need to be more excited about this game. And then I'll be upset if it lives more to the hype.
I feel like it's hyped enough. Like, I feel like it's, the amount of hype it's received has been justified considering Rockstar's pedigree and considering what they've shown off of the game so far. Like, it
has been very gracious. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really impressive. So in keeping with attention to detail, moving over to Arthur and his weapons, you will be able to physically see all the weapons that are on Arthur's character model, which means you have a limit to which weapons that you can carry. You can only hold 2 sidearms and 2 long weapons. And then you'll also have, obviously your grenades, your throwables, a knife, and lasso. But this basically means that there's no limitless inventory that Rockstar open world games are known for. So it'll be more grounded.
I think that's so cool. I think that's really because, you can have like your favorite set of guns, but then as you get more and more, via the Rockstar progression system, you can be like, oh, well, let me try this setup and see what this, and you can always mix and match, and it won't be so easy to, so it'll sort of make the set that you have, like whatever you decide to rock with, it'll mean more to you than it would if you could just access whatever.
I'm really interested because Rockstar kind of have something cool here, and I don't know if this is on the mind of the people at Rockstar. Obviously, they could have something totally different in mind. But in my mind, from my perspective, you've got 2 really similar franchises in Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption. Obviously, Grand Theft Auto being incredibly popular, Red Dead still becoming a really popular franchise. But Grand Theft Auto has always been grounded in like silliness and chaos and fun. Whereas you can tell with Red Dead Redemption 2, they're going for a more grounded, realistic, simulation-like approach. So it'll be interesting to see if they stick with that with, hopefully, with Grand Theft Auto 6, when eventually that comes out, it'll be interesting to see if they try and make that more realistic or if they really double down on the zaniness and silliness that
I would
GTA.
like that. I would like that because, maybe Red Dead Redemption thing. Maybe you like the zany, over the top missions and things that happen in GTA. So then if that's your thing, GTA 6 will do all of that, because I would hate all those fans who enjoy those things to be taken away, have that taken away from them just because of the potential success of Red Dead Redemption 2. So I do like the idea that, like, oh, if I want to do something more grounded, I can play Red Dead Redemption 2, or hey, I want to shoot up a bunch of people in a Lamborghini and then
Right.
blow it up, we'll play Grand Theft Auto.
Right. So yeah, I think I'm no expert. I don't work for Rockstar, but I feel like that's the logical thing to do. But
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see when GTA 6 inevitably comes out, what that ends up looking like. But continuing on with the attention to detail, there is a lot of attention to detail in this game.
Yeah.
Back to guns, customization of the guns. You can actually engrave your guns, and you can choose what engravings you put on there, and you'll see them with you at all times. Little minute things like that. Something I thought was really cool: you can shoot weapons out of enemies' hands. One thing that we'll touch on later is the interactions with NPCs in the game, which is a huge focus in Red Dead Redemption 2. So just the ability to handle a situation non-lethally, like violently but non-lethally, seems really interesting.
Yeah.
So weapons, keeping with weapons, they get dirty and they clog up over time. So you'll actually have to clean them, maintain them, otherwise they'll jam on you, which is insane. One of those things where I'll be interested to see how gamey it gets, like if it'll get to Gears of War level of gaminess, or if it's actually just kind of like a natural sort of thing where to keep up with it.
Yeah, or because that on top of you were talking about with the hunger, like will it just become more tedious work that you have to do? You maintain the gun and you got to keep yourself alive, all this. I'm hoping that it just sort of blends into this perfect, realistic experience.
Right. And hopefully it doesn't rely too much on the realism. Like that's kind of the theme, the overarching theme of what I'm trying to say, at least.
Yeah.
So moving to like more environmental things, obviously there's a different variety of weather and biomes. So snow on Arthur's clothing eventually melts over time. That's to be expected. Mud hardens and wipes away, and blood will dry. So I don't know how permanent it is, like if you actually need to wash your clothes or things like that, but like the blood that you get from firefights will dry on your clothes.
I also believe blood, like we're talking about like hunting animals and you drag their carcasses over your shoulder. I think you also get blood from that as well.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Really cool.
Which would be cool, but yeah, it'll be interesting to be like, oh yeah, I got to go buy new clothes or wash my clothes, or how that works. If that's a thing, or if you have too much blood on you, does that then alert the authorities to you? Which, based on what I've read and heard about the game, that's an interaction that very may well could happen.
And the hunting mechanic, there was a part where like you have your own scent. Arthur has his own scent, and like if you are downwind of your prey, they can catch your scent and they will run off. So if you're not washing yourself, you're not cleaning, I assume it'll be easier to get tracked, by your prey.
That's just insane. Like,
yeah.
It's just incredible. So your horses are fully customizable. You can customize the saddle, the blanket, the stirrups, the reins, and the saddle horn. All to be expected. You can name your horse. You can clean your horse. Horses poop dynamically, so they'll
like
just
me.
Sporadically pooping all over the place if you want to see some horse poop. If your horse dies, it's gone forever.
Yes.
So there is no horse revival shrine like in Breath of the Wild. Unfortunately, once it's dead, it's gone. And
there's no GTA insurance.
Right.
Recall your horse.
You can't just put it in your garage and just summon it at will. No, yeah. So that's where it just gets crazy, where it's like, yeah, like you could have a collection of horses, but if your prized horse dies, you are shit out of luck.
Oh.
That being said, you can tell your horse to flee when it's in a precarious situation to try and spare its life. So if I guess you're in a firefight and you dismount your horse, you can tell it to get out and it'll run away.
Go on, get Sasha.
And the one detail that everyone's been really fixated on, and the one that really just kind of showcases the insanity of the detail of this game, is that the horse's testicles will shrink or expand depending on the in-game weather. I'm not an expert on horse anatomy, but I just know that someone had to look at horse testicles and animate it depending on what was going on in the game.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the physics are when you're riding your horse. in various weather. I'm
All right, we're gonna move on to the next one. I'm gonna so the last main talking point that I have is kind of the more open-ended one, kind of the more nebulous ideas of Red Dead Redemption 2. And it's the fact that, and I hate to use this word, but this is almost like a revolution. It looks like it's going to revolutionize open world games. And I know we say like, oh yeah, like every Grand Theft Auto game revolutionizes the open world games. The Witcher 3 revolutionized open world games. But
well, I mean, to be fair, I really think they all did.
They did, and they absolutely did. I just hate the word revolutionize because we use it a lot. I couldn't think of a better word where, this definitely does seem to be the next logical evolution in open world games. Rockstar don't seem content with just making another really big world with tons of stuff to do, which is perfectly fine. But there seems to be something more under the surface of Red Dead Redemption 2 that elevate it beyond just an open world game, that makes you feel like you're living, breathing part of the world, and that the world exists without you. So the first one of these things, and this is kind of the broader one, there's a range of choices that you have. So obviously in Red Dead Redemption 1, you made good versus evil choices. They're very binary. And that kind of impacted how the world saw you. And we've seen this in games before. We saw it in Fable. We've seen it in Mass Effect. You've seen all these different games use this sort of honor system to let you kind of choose what side you want to play out. But Red Dead Redemption 2 kind of elevates this and uses it in the more mundane tasks, where like every interaction you have with someone can be, you can hold them up at gunpoint, or you can just have a plain old interaction with someone, and that can totally change how certain events down the line, like it'll have a domino effect and totally just change how that plays out. So in keeping with that, interactions with NPCs are more organic, less binary, and they give you way more freedom to act how you please. Let's see, moving on and looking at your camp. So a big part of the story is the camp. Your camp has their own agenda. They won't wait up for you. So if you're traveling with your camp, they're actually gonna just keep moving on. If you want to go fuck off and do something else, that's side content. Members of your gang who reside at the camp will come and go. Finding out exactly where they've gone from others will be the basis of a number of quests and side quests. So like I said, the main story is very much centered around this camp community type deal. What do you think of the idea that I don't know, that the camp is what do you think about the idea of the camp as a character?
I think as a whole, I'm fascinated. I'm scared about there's this thing that is important to the story. It is where the cluster of your posse resides, and they don't need you, essentially.
You're good.
Yeah, they don't need you. Sorry, my screen blacked out. But it makes you think like, wow, like it makes me worry, like, how much of the game am I going to miss if I'm not always checking in on them and making sure everything's fine. Have I hunted enough for them to eat? All these sort of things. It's scary. I hate to use the analogy, but like it's almost like renting a child.
Right. And like that's you bring up a very good point where like looking at the camp as a plot device, like one of the biggest things that I'm terrified in open world games is that I'm going to miss something where like I'm off looking at something else, checking something out, fighting an enemy. I'm afraid that's going to happen in Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'm going to miss a poignant story moment, or an important line of dialogue or something really funny, a good joke. So I'm definitely really intrigued about the idea that everyone is kind of autonomous and they do their own thing and they have their own motivations. I'm also, like you, kind of scared where I'm afraid that I'm going to miss something and I won't be able to go back and experience it again without having to start over.
It certainly adds a big element or a big pro into this game. Would definitely have replayability value for me.
Yeah, I mean, well, it seems like with how organic everything is, right? Where like you can interact with anyone in any way that you want, and it seems like the NPCs kind of have a memory, which I'll kind of touch on that with a little, with one of the later talking points. But it seems like NPCs kind of have a memory where they remember how you treated them or how you treated another person, and the police will interact with you differently depending on how you've treated other people. So yeah. it's gonna be really, I don't know how to say it. It's like overwhelming, where it's just like there will always be something to do, always be somebody to go mess with. If you decide, hey, I'm going to hold up some people today, rob a store or two, or if you want to change it up and be the good guy, you can. And
yeah,
I'll be interested to see what the limits of that are, because obviously a game like Fallout, Skyrim, they have those sorts of interactions with people where you can interact with them on a normal level, or you can just straight up murder them. So it'll be interesting to see, like I've said before, where the game lies, where, can I murder an entire town of people, or will I die eventually?
Yeah. What are the parameters? Where is, most games with the, open world, there is, the edge of the map, right. This game doesn't feel like it has that. And It's scary.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Like you said, it definitely doesn't feel like it has an end or an edge of the map. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So kind of what I was alluding to before, it's a small thing, but it's a thing with dogs where you can pet dogs and those dogs won't bark at you again if you see them. So kind of going back to that whole, like, NPCs remember how you interact with them. So it'll be interesting to see, if I pet every dog in the game, will there be a single dog that barks at me? I'm sure there's someone out there that's going to put that to the test, and it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Could you pet every single dog in that within that radius? Could you?
Right, and that's could you? How many dogs are there? And like I said, I'm sure someone out there is gonna push the limits of this game, and there are people that push the limits of open world games out there. So I'll be interesting to see what they find and if it actually holds up after all that. Yeah. So moving more back to the morality point of it. So when you put on a bandana during a crime and you take it off afterwards, it makes your wanted meter drop faster. So like in Red Dead Redemption, like in Grand Theft Auto, you've got a wanted meter, but if you put on a bandana, mask your face, and take it off, it's actually like, oh yeah, like you may not be that guy who was just robbing me. You may be.
Now they had a bandana system in the last Red Dead Redemption, but it was just it was like the Gray Fox mask, Oblivion,
right? Where
you put it on, you commit the crime, you take it off, and it's just instantly gone.
Right.
There was a sort of like, well, I mean, I would recognize the guy without the mask almost, if that's the one detail. You're wearing like this unique outfit, but I have a mask.
Right. And like this is one where like it seems like a natural progression where it's like it doesn't go away immediately. It'll go away a little bit quicker because people, oh wait, there was a guy wearing a red mask. You're not wearing a red mask, so you're not immediately jumping out to someone. Whereas if you continue to fuck around, maybe then you'll draw attention to yourself. Going on with wanted levels and things like that, and actually the last talking point that I've got before we move on to the next section, you can pay your own bounty, but townspeople will still remember any trouble you caused and comment on it when you return. So just another one of those NPCs remember, like the Telltale memes where it's like so and so will remember that,
or like Skyrim guards,
right. They comment on it. People will, and especially another thing that they've, seen, that people have seen in the previews is that, people will comment on like main story beats and things like that. You'll find newspapers that talk about what's going on in the main story, different heists that you pull. All that stuff is pretty standard open world stuff at this point. Like Spider-Man, for example, the last Spider-Man game did that really well with the J. Jonah Jameson podcast show.
Yeah, and the Daily Bugle papers too.
Right. So yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see how the single player for Red Dead Redemption 2 plays out. But Wes, one thing that we haven't heard a lot about that is still obviously going to be a very big part of Red Dead Redemption 2 is the online. Rockstar have already confirmed that Red Dead Redemption 2 will have an online component to it. It won't be releasing when the game releases. It'll come out a month later. I think it's coming out in beta in November, if I'm correct.
Beta,
right?
yeah, beta in November.
So it's very similar to how Grand Theft Auto Online launched, except Red Dead Redemption 2 will have that beta to kind of work out the kinks. We don't know much about Red Dead Redemption 2's online multiplayer. So Wes, what is your dream scenario for what Red Dead Redemption 2 online plays like?
My dream scenario, with how much money they've been pulling in from GTA Online, and just Rockstar is a titan. Rockstar, they have the resources, they have the ability to focus both on making a very fantastic, crazy fun multiplayer experience, but I also want Red Dead DLC.
Single player.
I need it.
Okay.
I need it because Undead Nightmare is like by far one of the greatest DLC experiences. And I mean, like, just, you know, foot and mouth, if they just decide to, like, oh, hey, we're gonna do Undead Nightmare just to, so I wouldn't really be so mad, because I would be excited, but I'm worried that they'll focus too much on the multiplayer aspect and they'll forget, like, hey, we could do some really good DLC stories, because we didn't see that with GTA.
Can I break your heart?
Oh no.
Can I break your heart?
Oh, don't go breaking my heart.
There's no way we're getting Red Dead Redemption single player. Like, there's no way. There's nothing official. Obviously, they could very well put out, Undead Nightmare. They could put out whatever, but they're making way too much money from GTA Online.
Yeah.
And as much money as you can make from selling single player DLC, there is more money to be made from microtransactioning the hell out of people, which is exactly what Rockstar and 2K are doing.
They're good at it. Now, hear me out though.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, because let's talk about Spider-Man for just a second.
Okay.
Hear me out. I think a solid 40% of that game made that game so successful was the fan service that they did.
Right.
And I feel like doing DLC, single player DLC for Red Dead Redemption 2 would be an incredible fan service. So Don't crush my dream just yet.
But so to counter your argument and to further crush your dreams, Insomniac, I felt like, had a bigger responsibility to do the fan service because it was Spider-Man. When you're doing a known property like Spider-Man, you have the obligation to be true to what the story and the characters are and their motivations. Whereas in Red Dead, that's Rockstar's baby. They can do whatever the hell they want with it.
Well, I'm going to keep my finger.
Yeah. Now, in terms of activities and things like that, you were a big Red Dead Redemption 1 online player. What do you want to see from Red Dead Redemption 2? Do you want to just see refined versions of what there was in Red Dead Redemption 1, or do you want to see anything significantly different?
I want a complete multiplayer open world experience, because they gave that feeling a little bit with their, like, the free mode, like GTA 4 had a mock online experience where you would be crammed into a room with a bunch of people.
Right.
They did that with Red Dead Redemption, except now you're crammed in a room with people on the entire game map. You can go anywhere. And so I would like that to go even further. Well,
that's what GTA 5 does.
Well, GTA 5 does that, but I would go to say I would like to maybe accomplish a lot of side missions with my friends.
Right. Yeah, I think the big thing that Red Dead Redemption nailed with its online is something that GTA 5 is still kind of trying to figure out with, like, the whole crew thing. Yeah. Where Red Dead Redemption 1 had what were they called, posses, or what was
The
it?
posses, yeah.
Like the posse system was the benchmark of Red Dead Redemption's online, and so I think that's a good foundation for, you can have heists in there from day one that you run with your posses, but then you have to grind up to a certain level with your posse. The standard traditional model, the tried and true model of, grinding, then you have a big raid, and then you move on to the next. You keep getting gear and then moving on from there. So I
will say, I'm putting it like on the airwave that if they do have the posse system back, you can expect anyone listening to this, you can join up with the Red Tooth Boys.
The Red Tooth Boys.
The Red Tooth Boys.
Name is pending.
Name pending.
Pending. Yeah, trademark pending. Don't steal it. At Red Tooth Boys on Twitter, son. Well, Wes, before we sign off for the night, do you have any last thoughts on Red Dead Redemption 2? Things that you want, things that you don't want, things that you may or may not, questions that you may or may not have answered?
I don't want to be sick of this game in like 3 months. I want this game. Well, that's just what I want. I'm scared.
It's a high bar.
I'm scared. Yeah,
but I'm with you. I'm with you on that, because every open world game has a definitive end, right? Like Spider-Man came to an end. Like when you get the platinum trophy, you get all the different special secret side objectives. Like it comes to an end. It comes to the point where all there's left to do is just swing around and stop random crimes over and over again.
Hey, Insomniac, New Game Plus, please.
Oh yeah, please. I will play the shit out of that, because I've been itching to play Spider-Man again. But no, yeah, I'm curious to see where is the end for this game. Is it once you roll credits? Is it, at what point do the interactions with the NPCs become stale? At what point do you begin to see, oh, well, this guy's repeating this guy's dialogue, and this guy, has the same. Where do the borders? I guess that's the biggest question I've got, and it's the one obviously we've been saying the most, is where is the edges of this game? At what point does it become a game?
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I know no matter what, it's going to be a very solid game. Rockstar is going to do very good. They're going to make a lot of money. The online will roll out. Of course, it'll have its bumps. I'm just glad they're acknowledging the fact that they're not releasing the full online right away, because that was the biggest blunder GTA 5 did. I'm still mad about it to this day. I'm so the fact that I spent so much money on Rockstar, despite the fact that they did us so dirty. I don't want to do it again. Right.
No, yeah, and it seems like they've learned their lesson from that. So hopefully when Red Dead Redemption Online does come out, it is not a broken mess like GTA Online was. That being said, before we go, one last question, Wesley, is, and I know this is pure speculation, where do you think this ends on your top 10 games of 2018? That's a big question. Boy. I should have asked you that before we started recording, because now you're gonna think. I think it's gonna land at number 3 for me.
Number 3.
Now,
God of War still number 1 for you?
I still think God of War and Sony and Spider-Man were like expertly done, and I could be eating crow in 3 weeks. I have not played the game. I am 100% like just throwing that out there, and I'm not trying to have any sort of preconceived notions of the game going into its release, because
I want to see if it's my number one picture.
Yeah, if it's my number one game, like it's my number one game, I will own it. I'm not going to put it at 3 for out of spite. But what do you think, Wes? Do you think it's going to beat Spider-Man for you?
Well, all I know is if Red Dead Redemption 2 is really going to be that good, you would have walked in that door right now, time machine that you built, and just whack. Right.
I would have built the time machine. But then again, I don't think any game has been that good, so we'll see.
Very true. I don't know if it's going to be better than Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is a completely different game for me.
Yeah.
I don't even know if Spider-Man is my favorite game of the year. I'm not too sure it's
hasn't beat out Scum yet.
It's it's so weird. You know, the game's barely out of beta, and it's such a unique experience. I've never played a game like Scum.
We'll talk about Scum on our Game of the Year podcast, I'm sure.
Well, no matter where Red Dead Redemption 2 lies, game of the year, you have to admit, I feel like Sony definitely is going to win console of the year with Spider-Man, God of War.
Oh yeah, they've had an incredible year and a half, like from all the way back from Horizon. When Horizon came out to, I mean, and then you forget Detroit came out this year, and Detroit was a damn good game. Detroit was a really good game, and I mean, I think that's one of those games where people either loved it or they hated it, and I definitely loved it. But
speaking of which, I need to delete Detroit tonight because I need that room for Red Dead Redemption 2.
That 105 gigs got you hurting. You can get on that. You can get on that PS4 Pro life like me. Don't have to worry about it. I got that terabyte, son. All right, well, that's going to do it for us. Thank you guys, as always, for watching us. If you don't already, follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/RedToothGames, twitter.com@RedToothGames, and on YouTube. You can also find us at redtoothgames.com. Wesley, say goodbye to the nice people.
Goodbye, nice people.
Thank you guys, as always, for watching us. We really appreciate it.